colleagues. And then I'm flagging this one in case one of our teachers struggle with especially the raise of hand by that time where you need to ask questions or make some comments. So this is where you need to click on to raise your hand. And then this is the microphone. But at the moment, we have disengaged all the microphones and then we have disengaged all the cameras so that we can smoothly run this meeting. But if you need to ask anything at the end of the meeting, you can just click on the hand and then we are going to be engaging your microphone so that you are able to unmute yourself and then continue with the question. So we are doing that so that our meetings should run smoothly and professionally. Colleagues, we cannot continue with the meeting before we remind ourselves about the vision and the mission of the department we work for. And then I believe that we still remember that our vision states that every learner feels valued and inspired in our innovative education system. I believe that every time, especially in our department, mathematics, we try to be as inspiring as possible to our learners because all our learners must be competent in the mental maths and in the skills of problem solving. So we have to be inspiring all the time as the maths teachers, and we have to be as innovative as possible. And we are also committed to provide functional and modern schools that enable quality teaching and learning to protect and promote the right of every learner to quality, equitable, and relevant education. So this is what we are all about, especially as the maths teachers. So we know exactly what the employer would love us to do and how we should do this in our schools. A quote on motivation, we should all remember that as a team, we are united in a common goal to keep our job. And our job is to make sure that our learners are achieving more in whatever that they do. If you have learners in your school that are not achieving, together we keep on saying to one another or to each other, this is how we do it, so that we can achieve more. So let us continue to be united in what we are doing because we have one common goal as a district. So before we go any further with this meeting, I would like to thank you very much for all the efforts you've put together in the past term. It is not easy. It has never been easy. It is not going to be easy, in the education sector. So, but as teachers, we always do our best, especially I'm talking to the teachers in this district that you have really done your best in the past term. And then I really want to thank all the teachers who are adhering to the ATP content and skills. Sometimes when we go to schools, we still find a few of the teachers who are not really doing what is right, but the majority of our maths teachers are doing the right thing. They are adhering to the ATP. They are teaching according to the requirements, those bulletins, the skills that you need to pay attention to when you teach in your classes. Most of our teachers are now doing the right thing. So we really want to thank you for that. And then we thank you for the assessment activities that we work together to put in place in term 2. from all the teachers who are sharing and from all the teachers who are sharing their intellectual properties, which is the test that you sit for hours that when you set, because it is not easy to put together an assessment activity that is well balanced. It will take hours and it will take days for you to complete that activity. And some of our teachers are sharing those activities so that we can empower other teachers in terms of the requirements. So thank you very much, because you really don't have to, but because you know that we are a team and we work together like that, you still sharing those intellectual properties. And for those teachers who came to put together those assessment activities last term, thank you very much, because without you, we cannot achieve more. And then also we want to thank you for the support given to learners daily. This is what we say every day, remedial activities, because as schools, you have the targets that you're setting for yourselves. And then in order for you to achieve those targets, you have to support your learners. So thank you very much. Very soon, the schools will have to submit the evidence of support in terms of learners who will be possibly retained. So I believe that from the beginning of the year, you have been tracking the learners who are in need of support, and then you have been doing that. So colleagues, if you are one of those who haven't started, please do it. It is the right thing to do, so that we are able to track the real and correct learners who are not making it in our subject. If they don't get support from you, unfortunately, they won't achieve more. And this is going to affect your target, and it is going to affect our target. It is going to affect the provincial target. It's going to affect the national. So everybody will be disadvantaged, and it is starting with the learner. So thank you for the dedication and willingness to go an extra mile, as always. Tulani and myself, we are often having a smile on our faces when we're coming back from school visits, because the teachers are doing it right. The teachers are going an extra mile, and that is not going to go unnoticed. And then teachers who have worked hard to prepare the learners for the Olympiads, we really want to thank you for that. Because our Olympiads, they have been very successful. We had the district round on the 4th of August, and the results were announced on Monday. It is saying yesterday here because I'm using the presentation that was used on Tuesday. So the results were announced on Monday in all our platforms. We have the 12 learners in our district who will represent us at the provincial level on the 24th of August, which is next week, Wednesday. Congratulations to all the learners and to the schools and to the teachers who have been supporting the learners. We had so many good learners. Unfortunately, a certain number is required at provincial level. If it wasn't of that, we would take more. So the work that you do in your schools is very, very good. Thank you. And thank you for continuing to work together and to support one another in your various institutions or schools. You know, when we move from one school to the other, we find that the teachers are working together. They are holding subject meetings in most of the schools, and there is evidence of the meetings that are held where the teachers were discussing maths-related matters. If your school is not having this activity taking place, please have your maths meetings whereby you support one another. We visited one of the schools, and the teachers were explaining to us that giving an example, if one teacher is not strong in teaching, say for instance, fractions, and then I am good in teaching fractions, I will go to that teacher's class and teach fractions while the teacher will go to my class. Maybe it is my my language period, and that teacher will teach what I was supposed to teach in my class, right? So the teachers are supporting one another up to that extent. And I'm very grateful to have teachers who are committed up to that level. So please do whatever it takes in your school to support each other, being it to explain content to your co-colleague if they are not very sure on how to go about doing that content. So do whatever it takes. If it means you share or ask a question from our WhatsApp platforms, do that, because there are always teachers who are willing to assist. So don't struggle there in your corner, and then at the end of the day, the learner is the one who is suffering. So thank you so much for colleagues from various institutions who are really making sure that they are doing something about improving the knowledge that they are taking to our learners. And then some teachers are sharing information on a daily basis in schools. Like I already alluded to this one, that they are holding meetings, and thank you so much for that. And then, like I always say, remember that your sacrifices don't go unnoticed. Okay, my slides are not moving. I want to move to the next slide, and then, but now they are not moving. Let's go to the next item, which is planning. Planning is very, very crucial, but I want to read here. It says, trust your plan, trust your preparation, and proceed with confidence. So when we move from one school to the other, we see that all the teachers who have properly planned and who have properly prepared, they have so much confidence in what they do in the classes. You start by seeing the files, the manner in which their files look like. You find that their files are very, very much presentable, and they have all the items that need to go or that needs to fit into their files. And then you go to the learners' books, you find that the learners' books, they represent the ATP very well. The books are being marked, the books are being signed by the teacher, because there is no pressure. You have prepared and you have planned in advance. So there is no need for you to go to your class without the confidence. So thank you so much. So colleagues, each one of you must have 2022 ATP, because some of our colleagues are having 2020 ATP, some are having 2021 ATP, and I'm talking about the less number of teachers, because the majority of you are having the correct ATP. So I'm talking to those colleagues that please, we have shared the 2022 ATP in our link, in our resource link. Please print it and have the correct one, because content is still the same, but the number of weeks that we had last year in term 3 and the number of weeks that we have this year in term 3, even the time on task, they have changed. So you have to work according to the time on task. And you cannot operate with 6 weeks, for instance, when we have 11 weeks in term 3. It is completely unacceptable, colleagues. So all the HODs in this meeting, when you check the files, please make sure that the ATP that is in the files is the 2022 ATP. Even the teachers who are in this meeting, please make sure that you have 2022 ATP. We're sharing it even in our WhatsApp platforms, right? And then if you have missed it, we shared it in our on the resource link. Please go and check and then do the right thing, please. And then when you plan, please study the topic or the content and the skills according to how you want to plan the assessment that should be completed first. Ne? There are different topics there on the ATP, and then you don't have to teach logically according to how they are presented. If you have 4 topics in term 3, you have the right to, or the choice as the teacher, if you have planned that the assessment activities is going to be on topic number 2 and 3, you have the choice to skip topic number 1 and then go to topic number 2 and then complete topic number 3, because these 2 topics are the ones that your project will be based on. If that is the case, colleagues, please, you must know that start with the topics that you want to assess first. From there, then you will go back to topic number 1 and then go to topic number 4, because at the end of the term, you will have to assess your learners in all the content that is outlined by the ATP for term 3. So please do that, because sometimes you find that the teachers, they end up assessing the learners later, like very late, and they don't even have time to do reassessment because they started with the topics that they don't need immediately. So, and then consider time on task. Certain topics, you would find that they are given 18 hours or 12 hours. Please look at those and make sure that in your planning, you can use a lesser time than the one that is given, as long as all the skills under the topic are covered. So, but let's say the topic has got 18 hours, for instance. We cannot find that you have 3 activities for a topic that is carrying 18 hours. Okay, colleagues? And then, because the question will be, what is going to happen to a topic that is allocated 6 hours, for instance? It will mean for that topic, we will not find any activity in the learner's books. So please consider the time on task according to your ATP and give learners activities accordingly. And then plan activities in advance, including support activities. So planning would mean having your preparation with you, knowing exactly what you are going to do, including the activities that you are going to do with your learners, and including the support activities that you are going to do with the learners who are struggling with that content. So all those things must be in place before you go to your class. And then the DBE workbooks must be used on a daily basis. And then like you give your learners a work in your class workbook, and then maybe the homework in your DBE workbook, or you can give the classwork also in the DBE workbook. Most of the schools, they are using the DBE workbook very well. The books are being marked, the books are being signed by the teacher. Like we normally say, If it is difficult for you to control the DBE workbook, it means you are giving the learners too much work in that book. So give them work that they will be able to do it without feeling pressured. And then also you as the teacher, you should be able to control that book on a daily basis. Don't forget that in a week, it is expected that you have 13 activities, meaning it could be 5 classworks in the learner's classwork book. It could be 5 homework activities in the DBE workbook, or it could be 6 and 4 or 7 and 3, depending on your planning. And this should include at least 3 mental activities. And we said mental activities, you can give, say, 5 sums or on mental sums, or you can give them a word sum. It can be just one word sum, whereby you have taught them how to attempt to answer a word sum, right? Where they need to highlight the keywords, and then after that they will know what number sentence will go with that word sum, and then the learner should be able to write it down. And then once the number sentence is there, then it will be easier for the learner to work out the answer for that problem. So please let us go to a point of teaching our learners how to attempt to answer word problems. And thank you for all the teachers who have started doing that. And then again, when planning, take in cognizance the application of high order thinking and high order questions, and then make it part of your daily planning. So in other words, consider the cognitive levels when you do your planning, because whatever that is in the learner's book is a build up of what is going to be in your assessment task. So if you cover all the cognitive levels on daily basis, it means the learners will not be having a problem when they answer your assessment activity. And then plan activities not only according to the textbook or DBE workbook, but according to the requirements of the assessment task. You know already when you go to your class, what is it that you want to assess your learners in terms of your assessment activities. So plan your class activities according to how you have planned your assessment. So here, colleagues, I want us to look at the GDE targets. And then usually the GDE is zooming into a grade 6 class. So we are going to look into the yellow highlighted here. The expectation from GDE is that 58% of your learners must achieve 50% and more. So even when you do your results analysis in your classes, in your schools, please make sure that the percentage of the learners who have achieved at 50% and more, they are 58% and more. So 58% of your learners must have achieved 50% or more. So if you are here when you do your results analysis, and this is referring to those who have achieved 50% or more, then you must know that you are within the GDE requirements. And then if learners who have achieved at 50% and more are less than this percentage here, you must know that the achievement in your school is below the GDE requirement. Right, right now I want us to look at our our district averages. This is term 4, term 1, and term 2. Ne? So what I have been talking about, it's here. This whole row here is referring to, oh, this one here, it's referring to grade 4, our grade 4 class. And then this is grade 5 class, and this is the grade 6 class. So the learners who have achieved, or can I say, we have from last year, end of the year, we have 78% of our grade 4s who have achieved at 50% and more. Very, very good grade 4s, because this is beyond the provincial target, all right? And then in term 1, we had 63% of our grade 4s who achieved, I'm wrong. We had 76% of our grade 4s who achieved at 50% and more. And then we have 71 or 72% of our grade 4s in term 2. So we have been, in terms of the targets of the department, we have achieved beyond the department's target. Thank you so much for ever hardworking teachers in grade 4. And then, but our averages are here. This is the total average in term 4. And this is the total average, which is 63 in term 1. And this is the total average still in grade 4, which is 59% in term 2. Thank you very much. You are really working hard. And then if you have your target at a school level, you can never want to be achieving on around the same average all the time. You want to push yourself. And as an HOD also, you want to push your teachers so that they go to a better average, which will mean the knowledge of mathematics is improving in your school, okay? And then this is the grade 5s here, talking to the same information that I have been alluding here, that 75% of our learners, grade 5 learners, they have achieved beyond 50%. And then in term 4, in term 1, 69% or 70% of our learners achieved beyond 50%, and 67% of our learners achieved beyond 50% in term 2. All right, so there's a fluctuation here with regard to grade 5s. We see the percentage here, and then it dropped. It dropped here to 70%, and then here it came to 67%. So in term 2, there is a decline in terms of the percentages of the learners who passed at 50% and more. And then also in grade 5, we have 61% here, and then 60% here. We can observe a decline, a bit of a decline, and then we have 58% here. Let us work on this, our grade 5 teachers, and then let's go to grade 6. And this is the grade that is seriously zoomed by the department, but all these other grades, the grade 4s and the grade 5s, they affect the grade 6 as well, because they come to grade 6 with a certain level of knowledge. So it means we really need to work very hard in grade 4 and in grade 5, so that when they get to grade 6, at least all the basics are covered in grade 4 and 5. So we have here those who passed 50% and above, 76%, and we have 67% here, and we have 72% in term 2. And then again, we have 60% total average with the grade 6s, a decline in term 1, and then in term 2, we had the same average as in term 4. Thank you so much for your hard work, but we can do better. We can do better than that. And then this graphic representation here is talking to exactly what I have been talking about on the other side. I'm not going to talk more on this one. When you receive the slides, you will zoom into it, but it is exactly what I have been talking about. Let's talk about assessment, colleagues. We all know what an assessment is, our forms of assessment, our types of assessment. But what I want to emphasize in this meeting is that what I want to emphasize in this meeting is that assessment should be more than just a summative assessment. You know, when you assess for reporting purposes, it should be taken for diagnostic reasons, for formative, also for summative purposes, and it should always be informal and formal. And then when you do your assessment, feedback must be given on a regular basis. Remember that when you give feedback to your learners, that thing enhances the learning experience, because the learner will see their faults and other things that they don't understand properly, and they will be able to correct. And also, you do your assessment to track the learner's progress, especially when you do your formative assessment. And so that is why feedback is also necessary on a regular basis. So formative assessment should be carefully designed to provide intermediate markers at strategic point in the curriculum implementation. All right. That is, a formative assessment test should be a set of carefully designed questions to address learners' misconceptions. So this is where the misconceptions should be addressed when you do your formative assessment. Because when you give the summative assessment, which you mostly use it for your reporting purposes, all the misconceptions should be cleared. There shouldn't be any learners who are still having misconceptions on the concept and the content that is taught. And colleagues, I want to pause for a while and then say to you, there's a register that Tulani has been posting on the chat box. So please, if you joined the meeting when we have already started, remember that there's a register there posted. Please fill in the register, and the teachers who are attending this meeting in a group, please make sure that you individually complete the register, because we don't take like a school registration, we take individual registration. Thank you so much. So let us remember, coming back to the meeting, to clear all the misconceptions. Colleagues, this is how our program of assessment stands. This term, across the grades or across the phase, we have a project. And across the phase, the project minimum mark allocation is 25. Remember that minimum means you cannot do a project that is below 25, but you are allowed to make it more than 25. It is actually highly recommended. Okay, so please up the mark for your project. Maybe you can make it for 30 marks or 35 marks or 40 or 50 marks if you want to. But please don't leave it at the minimum. Let us try to up our marks a bit. And then secondly, we are going to have a test. Usually when we go to schools, we find that the assessment tasks are not correctly labeled. In term 1 and term 3, we have tests. And then in term 2 and term 4, we have controlled test. So please label your assessment correctly. We find that other schools are labeling this assessment task here, exam. Please don't do that, because, you know, we're still using the RATP, because, you know, since COVID-19, whereby certain topics have been removed, that some topics have been moved to other terms. There has been a lot of movement and the cut of other topics. So we don't have examination. We have control test and we have test. So please let us fix that. And then as for, okay, I will talk more on this two assessment tasks on a later stage. I think the slide is coming up. And then when you do your test and your control test, please make sure that you adhere to the cognitive levels. Please, 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 colleagues. And then this can be your agenda item when you have your maths meeting, whereby you discuss the cognitive level in terms of what do they mean, knowledge question. What type of questions are referring to knowledge question? If my test is out of 40, how do I calculate 25% of 40 marks? Okay. You assist one another in terms of that. So let us have the maths meetings whereby we discuss these technical aspects, right? And then remember that your paper, it must have the marking grid in the front. So whereby you can even show your questions on these cognitive levels, that your 25% is from this question up to this question, whereby you were addressing certain skills there. Or you can do it like in other schools where they spread the cognitive levels randomly across the paper. But when you look at the marking grid, they will indicate that this question is knowledge, this one is problem solving, this one is knowledge again, and this one is knowledge, then routine procedures, then there's complex, and there's complex, and there's problem solving. And when you calculate, you'd come to up to the requirements of these cognitive levels. So, but other schools will prefer to have knowledge questions first, and then followed by routine procedures, and then they will have section A, B, C, and D. So if you want to do it like that, it is still acceptable, okay? So, but in the nutshell, cognitive levels are very, very important. If you don't know how to calculate it, you have your colleagues at your school level. We have to see from the minutes of the maths meeting that you met and then you have discussed the cognitive levels. And the CAPS document, it has got examples of questions that you can ask under each cognitive level. So open your CAPS document and then check the types of questions that you can ask under each cognitive level. Okay, so now I want us to talk about the differences between a project and a test, because these are the activities that we will be doing this term. And then we're starting with a project. Ne? A project should assess a range of skills and competencies. So there's a range of skills here, and learners should be competent in certain things whereby they have a chance to be assessed on those things, all right, or skills. And then they should they can demonstrate their understanding of different mathematics concepts and apply them in real life situation. Like we always say, a project should never be looking like a test. Here we have to give our learners a chance to apply their minds and to use their hands in terms of creating something, something concrete, because some of our learners are very, very good in doing that, right? And they are not very strong in understanding or memorizing or whatever the case may be, whereby they need to sit and use pen and paper and write. So let us give them a chance to apply their knowledge in a real life situation, being it making a home or a house, or making a 3D objects, or making a robot, like some of the projects that we have seen from other teachers who have shared with us. And I'm still saying thank you very much to the teachers who are sharing their projects with us, even their test, because we do have teachers who have done that. I'm making this appeal that if you have a project, I know that you have spent hours in preparing that project, but we still have our novice teachers in some of our schools who don't know how to start. They don't know the difference between a project and a test, or a project and assignment. Please share those projects with us. You already know our email addresses, or you know our phone numbers where you can call and say, please, can I send the project to you? And we will appreciate that, because we really want to build a strong maths team in our district, and it will take each and every individual to play a part. Ne? And caution should, however, be exercised not to give projects that are above our learners' cognitive levels, right? So when you give a project in terms of you want them to apply a certain concept in a real life situation, make sure that everything that you give to them, it is within their cognitive levels. And then the assessment criteria should be clearly indicated on the project specification, and should focus on the mathematics involved, and not on duplicated pictures and facts copied from reference material. Colleagues, I hope that this part here is well understood, that let us avoid the duplication of pictures and things that are copied from reference material. Let us use our ATP, the topics there, and then based on what you taught them, develop something very interesting. And then good project may involve building of an artifact wherein questions are asked based on it. Okay, I think I cannot overemphasize. And then a project, like I'm emphasizing that the learners should be making something. And then it is highly recommended that even when they are making an artifact, at the end or in the beginning of the project, you must have some sort of a content that you are going to ask your learners in the form of writing. So a project must be in the form of making and in the form of a written work. So when they make, there should be a rubric with very clear instructions, right? And the instructions, or the mark allocated to what the learners will do. It will start from the collection of the material. Some teachers, when we were talking the other day, they were saying in the beginning of term 3, they already know what project they're gonna do with their learners, and they already asking their learners to start collecting the material, okay? So because you cannot give an instruction today that tomorrow the learners should bring materials for a project. You will be unfair to them. You give them time to collect the material, because mostly it has to be things that are recyclable, reusable, things that they can find, things like the core of a tissue thing, you know, that inner thing, or, you know, the cereal boxes, or, you know, the toothpicks, whatever the case may be, depending on what you want to do with your learners. So you give them time to collect such things. So they have to get some marks for collecting, because it really takes time. And then even for making, the learner after making that artifact, you cannot give them a 0. There is no mark that should count to 0 on a project, because a learner should have done something. If the learner gets 0, check your instructions. If your instructions were clear enough on what was it that was supposed to be done. Let's go to a test. This one is an individualized assessment task and should be carefully designed to ensure that learners demonstrate their full potential in a mathematical content, right? So, and then remember that when coming to this one, the cognitive levels must be adhered to. Your test must be balanced. It should cater for all your learners in the class. And remember that your cognitive levels, when coming to, you know, the most difficult questions, it carries a less percentage, because the cognitive levels are meant to give advantage to all the learners in your class, all right? The 10% of problem solving as versus to the 90% of other cognitive levels. If you look at that, so the learners who are not very, very good in solving problems, they will not be seriously disadvantaged. So please make sure that you balance your test according to the cognitive levels. The questions should be carefully spread to cater for different cognitive levels. I have spoken to that one. Tests and examinations are marked using a marking guideline. I think a memorandum is wrongly written there. We call it a marking guideline because if a learner came up with some steps that are not included in your memo, but those are the correct steps that takes you to the correct answer, the learner should still be credited with some tick or something. So it should only be called a guideline, because other correct answers must be taken into cognizance. And then also, when you do your marking guidelines, please, colleagues, include alternative answers, because in most cases, when we do provincial moderation, it is a problem with some colleagues not including alternative answers. Right, so now we go into term 3 RATP. Okay, and I think this one here, okay, it is not allowing me. I'm going to escape here, and then I think I do have here, I want to just pick, this one is a grade 4. This one is a grade 4 ATP. So colleagues, let me go to term 3, term 2, and term 3 is here, and then I want to enlarge it. So when you do your preparations on common fractions, colleagues, this is what we advise the teachers to do. You write the topic, or you allow the learners to write the topic, common fractions. After that, explain what common fractions are. I know that you do that explanations. Allow the learners to write the explanations in their book, even if you do the dictionary meaning of common fractions. From there, you go to the examples of common fractions. And then from there, you go to all the terminologies that you are going to come across when you do the topic on common fractions. Remember that you have planned in advance. You don't rock into a class with the general knowledge that you have on common fractions. You have well prepared this topic. So you have the topic on top, you have the definition of the topic, you have the, you can even here bring the terminologies that will be used when doing the whole talk. This is what we are expecting, colleagues. And then you have examples of common fractions. And then you go to compare and order. Now this is where you start with the activities. So this skill here, compare and order common fraction, is one of the skills that you're teaching under common fraction that is affecting your curriculum coverage. You have, the learners must write in their books, compare and order common fractions, and then you do okay, and then it continues by saying with different denominators, halves, thirds, quarters, fifths, sixths, and so forth. And then you give an example of this particular skill. You show the learners how they compare and order common fraction in terms of what is mentioned here. And then from there, you give them what? An activity. Look how far we're coming from, colleagues. It is not just an introduction of common fraction and straight into an activity. You are in grade 4 and you are already killing the teacher in grade 5. Because now the learner is attempting to understand, trying to understand common fractions. What are fractions? What does common mean? You see, there are many loopholes that you have created in grade 4. Hence, when the learners, they get into grade 5, they don't know when you talk about fractions, what exactly are you referring to? Because you as the teacher in grade 4, you have brushed off the topic common fraction. You didn't outline it properly to the learner for them to understand. You can even go to a point of all the terminologies that you are going to use, even the halves, the thirds, the quarters, whatever the case may be. You can even write them, make charts, and then plug them on the walls, so that when you talk about this topic, the learners can always refer from the wall about what you are talking about. Even in their books, it has to say it. And then here it says, describe and compare common fraction in diagram form, right? The learners must write down this subtopic here in their books. And then you have to come up with an example of what does this mean. How do you describe and compare common fraction in a diagram form? You can even get this activity from the DBE workbook. Okay, doesn't matter where do you do it, in your class workbook or in your DBE workbook. But the main thing is that for every skill that you teach, there should be some examples. The learner, you have to demonstrate to your learners. Look at the hours that are allocated to this topic here, 18 hours. So please do justice, okay? And then the same thing will apply to the rest of the topics, and the same thing will apply to the rest of the other grades, grade 5. I have flagged grade 5 here. Is the same thing, colleagues. You know, I don't want to bore you with the thing that this thing that is similar to the other one. It's going to be the same. Common fractions is what you have started with, or maybe if it wasn't part of your plan to start with common fractions because it wasn't talking to your project, you have probably started with length if that's what you want to do in your project, or maybe you have started with properties of 2D shapes, and then if you want to incorporate properties of 2D shapes and properties of 3D object in your project, you can teach this adhering to each skill here. Don't hop into skills. Teach all the skills. When you finish, go to the next one, which is properties of 3D objects. Ne? And teach everything as you see here. If your project is based on these two topics here, you start with the two topics and then you complete the two topics adhering to all the skills according to this ATP. And then you can then assess your learners in terms of your project, or maybe some other teachers will be saying, okay, I'm using both plus the symmetry and transformations, okay? And then others will say, okay, I want to use length, symmetry, and transformation for my project. And then there's something that I have planned. The learners will do an activity where they will be making whatever artifacts based on this thing. You can start anywhere, as long as at the end of the term, all these topics are fully covered, including the skills. I cannot overemphasize that, colleagues. Coming back to our slides. So I want to talk about the RATP and the RPET, the ATPs and the RPET. What is a recovery planner and tracker, which is the RPET? You know, for schools that we have been visiting, we have been giving you the hard copies. Unfortunately, we didn't receive enough copies from the head office. I think they only gave us about 35 copies, and then we have 170 schools. So, but having said that, we have shared the soft copies of the recovery planner, the RPET. We have shared all the soft copies for term 3. You go to our resource link, you are going to find it. So this is a resource designed to support educators with the interpretation of the recovery ATP and to translate the curriculum content into lessons. Colleagues, if you haven't downloaded the RPET, please do so, because it is so user-friendly. It is talking to your ATP and it is interpreting your lessons from the ATP so nicely. So please go there and download it and make a print and have a copy of that so that you can refer from it when you are doing a certain topic. And how is the RPET, which is the recovery planner and tracker, how is it different from the ATP? Okay, the recovery ATPs prescribe the curriculum content to be covered in a period of time. Like I flagged the ATPs, the RATP previously before the slides, where I was going through each and every skill that need to be taught. So that's what the ATP is giving to you. It is also saying how much time must you spend for each topic. For example, 2 or 3 weeks, and then it is interpreting it in terms of weeks and hours. While the RPET schedules a sequence of lessons for each section or topic. Remedial and revision lessons are there, and lessons on content for current term, assessment, there are assessment activities, enrichment exercises, taking account of the number of school days in the term. So this is a very beautiful resource that if you are really ignoring it, you don't know what you are missing, right? So please go to our resource link and then make sure that you look at the RPET, you look at term 3, you look at how they have designed the lessons, you look at how they have designed the activities, their assessment activities there with the memorandums. So please go and have a look at it. We really need to use it, you know, because it is very useful as a resource. The purpose of the recovery planner and tracker is to mediate a reorganized DBE 2022 annual teaching plan, including school-based assessment. Ne? It is some form of a mediation and reorganization of the annual teaching plan. And the other purpose is to ensure that meaningful teaching continues during the remaining teaching time as per school calendar, because it is giving so much clarity, right? It giving clarity to certain content. Like I said, some lessons have been designed for you in there, right? And then it is also assisting teachers with guided pacing and sequencing of curriculum content and assessment. So it is also assisting you, like how are you going to pace yourself. Like I said, it has got some assessment activities in there. So you really, when coming to certain topics, you don't really need to worry about how am I going to create this assessment activity. And in this case, I'm referring to your informal activities that you do in your class, right? So it is assisting you with those things, and it enables the teachers to cover the core skills and knowledge. So please go and visit this resource material, because it is very, very useful. It assists the teacher with planning for different forms of assessment, like I've already alluded. It ensures learners are adequately prepared, because before you can give a summative assessment to your learners, you have to be sure 100% that your learners are prepared for your assessment. If you are not sure yourself, then it means some of your learners are not sure about the content that you have taught, you know, in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, in terms of attitudes and values. So you have to make sure, and then this document is going to assist you. And then it's also going to assist the teachers to catch up on the teaching of core skills and knowledge not covered at a scheduled time, like the resource material that is making a schedule on the time that should be spent on a certain topic is our ATP, right? The time has been scheduled there. So if you have had a problem with covering a certain core skills, the RPET is going to assist you in terms of how the lessons are designed, and then for you to be able to catch up and at least pace yourself correctly. Curriculum linkage, we have a CAPS document, which is our policy. Okay, this is the Bible. It is the main menu. This one. If we say we're talking about the main menu, we're talking about our policy, because everything should happen according to policy. That is why if you do something that is not in the policy, that is not prescribed by the policy, you can be charged for that. And then RATP, it's part of the policy. Ne? And then this one it is prescribing what should be taught and when, in terms of time allocated per topic. And planners and trackers, it gives you what is supposed to be taught when, because it also having the time slots in there. And then how is it going to be taught, because it is having some lessons planned for you in certain skills. And then also it is a resource and a reference that you can use. So all these things, they are interrelated. You have to work according to all these resources that are mentioned here. And it is so easy if you plan in advance, colleagues. It may look like there is so much that we need to do. There are so many resources. Colleagues, there are so many resources because the more resources you have, the better for you. So please visit all these resources so that your teaching and the teaching and learning can be easier for you. Overview of recovery plan and tracker. It has got weekly planner and that will track your pace, né? And then the structure of the tool has got formative assessment, which is the revision on prerequisite concept and remediation. Remember that, colleagues, you need to do your remedial work as well in terms of supporting the learners who are being left behind in terms of mastering certain skills. So if you use this or you take it serious like other teachers are, it is going to assist you. And then if you have to go into teaching new concept and skill for this term, it is going to assist you as well. Remember, I also said in the beginning, we do have some novice teachers. Some are novice in terms of they just came into the system. Some are novice in the form of they have been there in the school, but mathematics as a subject has just been allocated to them. So they are novice with regard to that in terms of the subject teaching, right? So let us have a look at this RPET document, and then so that it makes our teaching easier. And then it has got assignment of written work. It has got date in which you complete a certain task. It is focusing on certain skills and concepts. And at the end, it has got a reflection session. You know, as the teacher, it gives you that small session where you need to reflect, and then you will be saying to yourself, okay, I have gone through this topic, I have gone through these skills here, and then I have already indicated in my curriculum coverage tool that this is a tick, 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 tick. And then in my class, learner A, learner B, and learner F, they are not mastering the skills properly according to how they're supposed to. And then it gives you a chance to plan how are you going to support those learners. Are we at the assessment yet? No, we are not there yet. You don't assess the learners when they are not there yet, when they did not mastered the skills. As you are teaching and you reflecting on what you have done in the class, you keep on going back to those learners A, B, C, and F and say, okay, these are my group of learners who didn't master, and then you give remedial work to those learners, sorry. And then when you give those remedial activities, please indicate whether you give those support or remedial activities in a classwork book or on a separate book like other teachers are doing. It has to be indicated on top that this is remedial work or support, okay? And then you write a date in which the support was given to the learner. So in other words, the learner is writing a date. So all these things, they are taking place under your supervision, because you can't say, but I told them to write that this is support. They didn't know. You supervise them. You check them that they are writing support, because if on top there it was a classwork, and then underneath the classwork it's a support activity, and the learner does not write support, if you need to submit to give evidence of support and it is not written support, how How is that going to be taken as support if it is not saying it is support or remedial work? So please, even if it means you have to design some worksheets and then you write with your own handwriting or you type that these are support activities, do that and then have a space for a date, and then the learners can paste those activities in their classwork books and then have a name, because they should be a name reflecting that it was learner A who was doing that. Because when you submit evidence of support, you just make copies of such, or you submit the books for such learners. So please let us do it right, so that when the time comes for you to submit when it's necessary for those particular learners, and then you don't panic. Let's do it right in mathematics. And then the language of teaching and learning, we are talking about this, colleagues, because this it gives a big impact, especially when the learners arrives in grade 4. You understand that most of the schools, or some of the schools in the township schools, they teach in mother tongue, which is isiZulu or isiXhosa or Setswana, whatever the case may be. But English is not used as a language of learning and teaching, especially in township schools, right? So when the learners comes to your school in grade 4, you'd find that the learners struggle, because most of the terminologies they were taught in their mother tongue. Okay, so when they get to your class, you can switch languages if you can, if possible, right? You can switch so that the learners can be able to understand that, okay, so this terminology that was referring to this, it is called this in English. Hence, it is important to build the terminology that you are going to use when you do a certain or each topic. So it is going to be helping even these learners who are coming from other languages other than the English, their mother tongue, to understand the concept as you teach in class, that it is actually meaning the same thing, right? Spoken language need to be used in such a way that learners are able to express their thought as clearly as possible while they grapple with the mathematical concept that they are learning. So the spoken language, that's what I'm talking about here, because you'd find that you are English based as a teacher, or you speak English at home, maybe probably you don't know all other languages, but learners should not be disadvantaged because they express their thoughts with the spoken language. Okay, so allow them to express their thoughts like that. However, you emphasize on the terminologies that you use in that particular content. The use of language should not interfere with the learner's ability to speak about what they are doing and make conceptual generalization. So I remember when we attended the workshop, I'm going to speak about making some generalization using language. The workshop that we attended, I think is on the 6th of this month, if I'm not mistaken. One of our lead teachers gave example of the word double up. You see, double up in our is a street language, né? And then it means taking shortcut. But when you use the concept double in your activity, the learner who is streetwise can think that you mean they should take a shortcut. And in actual fact, double or doubling in mathematical concept, it means you must multiply by 2 or add the same number. So we have to clear this misconcept with our learners and use the correct language when teaching mathematics so that we don't confuse them. Maths vocabulary and terminology should be taught, as I have alluded in the beginning when I was talking about this particular matter, and then the teacher should use the dictionary, right? There's a maths dictionary, or you can even use the Oxford dictionary or any other dictionary that has got all the maths vocabulary. But in the nutshell, our learners should know exactly what it means by the terminologies, right? That we do in mathematics. I'm not going to talk much about this slide here because some of the things that are appearing here, I have explained when I was talking about the previous slide here, which is the teaching of the use of home language with the English. So some of the things that I talk about here, mother tongue and all those things, they appear from this slide. I want to go straight to the online lessons. Remember that on the 1st of September, our workshop or training that is talking to this part here is coming up. So we are excited as the maths department that we will have our teachers attending in numbers. This time we will not be having circuits separated. All the teachers will be in the same room in terms of the virtual attendance room, and then we will be going through how to use technology in your classroom, because we are living in the information era now that comes via technology. So we have to up our skills as the maths teachers on how to use this. I remember in the past terms, we have shared this link, the GDE content link with you, and some of the teachers managed to register. Let me click on it. So you need to create an account to start with, ne? So I'm not going to create a new account because I do have an account. So if you don't have an account, you start by creating a new account. Is going to you need to there's a lot of some few questionnaires in the form of a form, and then you will have to know to create a username and a password so that every time when you log into this, then you put in your username and your password. So please create an account. We are going to be sending the slides to you. You will just click on that link, and then you will be able to create a link. So to create an account, once you have an account, then you will just click on log in, and then there's content. There's like very, very beautiful content in this link in the form of video slides or video, and then you can have a look and enjoy the lesson before you take it to your learners, right? And if you have resources in your school, you can even allow your learners to look at the lesson, to listen at the lesson and enjoy it as much as you will be enjoying it. Okay, so let me move on to the next one. The next slide is on Siyavula platform. And then this platform, colleagues, is going to be used for our provincial Olympiads. we will not use the Google form as we have been doing. We will be using the Siyavula platform. So all the learners who have gone through the provincial round, their teachers should assist them to create an account as well here. So they need to create an account. It's unlike when we use the Google form whereby you are given a link and all activities just pop up. So here you need to register, and there are practice activities there for the learners who will be doing the provincial Olympiads. So we have sent your names or your learners' names to head office and to the gentleman who is assisting with this Siyavula, and then they are going to assist our learners. They do have their names, and then on the day of the Olympiads, the link is going to be shared with us, and then only the learners whose names are registered for the provincial Olympiads will have access to those activities. I would like Mr. Tulani to please unmute and then maybe add on this matter.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, colleagues, once more. Again, just to add on, and there's a bit of an echo, so we're just sorting that out. Okay, thank you. As ma'am has already indicated that the Provincial Maths Olympiad will be conducted on Siyavula platform. So this is the online platform that has been adopted from head office. So after registration, so do not worry when you do not see grade 4, 5, and 6, because the system was initially created from grade 12, 11 coming down. So they still coming down to our grade. But for now, for the purpose of the Provincial Olympiad, after registration, when you check on the learner's dashboard, you're not going to see grade 4 or grade 5 or grade 6. So what's going to happen is that the Siyavula officials have promised us to send, only for those children that would have registered, to send an assignment that will be containing the practice questions towards for both the mental maths as well as the problem solving. So meaning that after registration, if you don't see grade 4, 5, and 6, do not worry. But then on Monday, try to log in and see if there are any assignments that have been allocated so that learners can start practicing. If we still don't see anything, we'll also be checking on our site. If we don't see the assignments, then we'll contact the Siyavula colleagues to also just make the process a little bit quicker. So after registration is fine. So what you see on the dash, if we do not feel you are left out if you don't see your specific grade. So after registration, just keep your logging in details safe so that learners are able to log in as in when it is required. Thank you, ma'am. I think I've provided some.
Thank you, partner. I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this one is talking to MST workshop. Colleagues, MST workshops are a must attend to all our MST CG schools. These are grant receiving schools. They call it what? Conditional grant receiving schools. So all the teachers who are in the schools, when there is a workshop from Saibono, your schools must attend. It's the same as Section 58B schools. They are a must attend, all right? And then all teachers should take advantage of the workshop as they give clarity to content. I believe that all the teachers who attended the workshop that was held on the 6th, they can attest to this. there is so much clarity that we get from those workshops. And then the teachers who are unable to attend, due to whatever reason that they have, some are very pressing reasons, some are, something that you can avoid. You must know that you are really losing a lot, because our lead teachers are so competent and they give so much clarity to what you are doing in your classes. So next time when we have a Cybono workshop, please attempt to attend. And then I believe that as much as we enjoy the workshop, you will also enjoy. And these workshops are for personal development and assist teachers in curriculum delivery. So I believe that if you haven't, you wish that the next workshop will be this Saturday, because that's how good our lead teachers are. It deals with specific skills that must be addressed in class per RATP, and the attendance is improving with every workshop, because I believe that the teachers who are attending, they give the message to other teachers that this is what was happening. And to be quite honest, even when we do school visits, the curriculum support visit, we can see by the manner in which the teachers are working in their classes, that this teacher, without even asking them, that this teacher attended the workshop and this teacher did not attend the workshop. That's how good our workshops are. So please, 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 you must remember that the attendance is always improving. So please join us, especially if we're still having it virtual. Because a virtual platform allows maximum number of people to attend. And thanks to all the teachers who always avail themselves and participate as expected. And I can never forget to thank our lead teachers for a stunning job that you always do. And then announcements. Like, I think I have done this in the beginning, but thanks to all the teachers who have prepared the learners for the district Olympiads. That was held on the 4th of August in Park Primary. And thanks to the host, which is the school, and the rest of the team that assisted to make the event successful. You really went all out. We had a serious challenge on that day because we had a load shedding. We never had load shedding prior to that day. All of a sudden on that day, we had load shedding. It was a serious challenge, but you made it possible by organizing the what is it? They organized a generator and other means of connections so that the day can be successful. Thank you very much, Mr. Suleiman and your team. And the results were announced on Monday. It is still saying yesterday here because it is a Tuesday slides. So all the results were announced in all our platforms. And we really want to congratulate the learners who will be representing the district at the provincial level next week on the 24th of August. It will be virtual via Siyavula platform, and we will meet at Ndondo because we need to monitor the process. So please, the schools with learners who are participating, please make sure that you register your learners. They must register as learners. And then if you encounter problems, please don't hesitate to call us. But at this present moment, we want to concentrate on the learners who will be participating. Later on, all the schools, all the 170 schools, the learners must register on the Siyavula platform because activities will be loaded. And then what happens is head office makes some random visits to schools. And then one of the things that they check when they get to your school is, are you using the GDE online? and how are you using it? Are you using Siyavula platform, and how are you using it? And they make a big fuss about the schools who are not using these platforms. Remember, our children are having smartphones and they can do more at home. Instead of playing those games and getting into YouTube's, allow them to register on the Siyavula platform and take advantage of those activities that are loaded, okay? At the moment, there isn't a lot of activities for intermediate phase. The activities are mostly for senior and FET, but the activities are building up for our phase. But the GDE online, it has plenty of beautiful activities that I want you to take advantage of. And then all the qualified learners must register and start using practice activities loaded on the platform, like I just said. And then the ICT training details. It's going to be virtual on the 1st of September. And then the target group there is all educators, including HODs responsible for monitoring mathematics, ne? And it will be at 2:30. When you receive the slides, we are going to edit this part so that we take the right information at the right time, at the right place. And then the purpose of that training is to equip maths educators with digital skills required in the new era of information age. Ne? And this era is the digital technology. So we shouldn't be left behind as the maths teachers. So we're really trying to bring some of these beautiful activities to you, right? And we expecting maximum attendance on this date. Oh, right. I'm there. Questions and answers session. And then while we're taking the questions, I would like to thank you very, very, very much for attending this meeting. You will get the slides for this presentation. And I believe that everything is going to go well with all of you in terms of teaching and assessments and learning and all those things. All of the best. And please don't forget, share your activities with us so that we can share with